Weeks passed after the coup attempt, but peace did not return easily. On ZeroPrime, the palace walls still bore the marks of battle. Yet the true war had only just begun, not of weapons, but of words. Across the galaxy, news channels, council broadcasts, and political forums repeated one unbelievable headline: "The heir of Zerul calls a human her father." For some, it was a strange curiosity. For others, it was a scandal that shook the foundations of interstellar order. The ancient species, the Valthran, the Archer Dominion, and the Narian Consortium reacted with outrage. To them, the very idea that a human could share a royal bond with the Zerelian heir was an insult to every tradition humanity, however, saw it differently. On Earth, people gathered in unity and pride. Hollow screens showed the image of Captain Elias Vorn, the man who saved an alien child and won the respect of a queen. News anchors called him the guardian among stars. But while many celebrated, others feared the consequences. The galaxy was not kind to change. Inside the Galactic Council Hall, representatives from over 50 species met to discuss the Zerelian incident. The room was filled with tension so heavy it could be felt even through the translator fields. At the center stood Queen Sarathis, calm and regal, with Elias standing quietly beside her. The light of 1,000 stars reflected from the polished floor beneath their feet. A booming voice from the council dais broke the silence. "Queen Sarathis," said Archon Varel, leader of the Archer Dominion, "your empire is a symbol of tradition and wisdom. Yet now you allow a human, a primitive, to claim a bond with your heir? What message does that send to the galaxy?" The Queen's eyes flashed with cold light. "It sends the message that courage and loyalty are not bound by species." Murmurs rippled through the hall. Another delegate rose, his tone sharp. "Humans are dangerous. They fight wars with no end. They spread wherever they go. If you align your throne with them, you invite chaos." Elias stepped forward before the Queen could reply. "With respect, Counselor, humans don't spread chaos, we adapt. We build where others flee. We protect those who can't protect themselves. If that frightens you, then maybe you fear strength you don't understand." Gasps echoed across the chamber. No one had ever spoken to the council like that, least of all a human. Queen Sarathis looked at Elias with quiet pride, though she said nothing. The council's ruling came hours later. Their decision was harsh but expected. The Galactic Council demanded that Elias Vorn be removed from ZeroPrime immediately. They called his presence a disruption to the natural order. When the announcement reached the palace, the Queen's advisors were furious. Some urged her to comply to preserve peace. Others warned that defiance could lead to war. But Sarathis said only, "If peace demands dishonor, then it is not peace worth keeping." That evening, Elias stood on the palace balcony, staring at the twin moons. He could hear the distant hum of the city below, unaware that his time on ZeroPrime might soon end. Princess Lyra joined him quietly. Her eyes were sad. "They want you to leave, don't they?" Elias nodded slowly. "Yes, they believe I don't belong here." "You saved us," she said, her voice trembling. "You stopped a war before it began. You taught me what courage means. How can they say you don't belong?" He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Sometimes the right thing makes others uncomfortable. Change always does." Lyra shook her head. "If you leave, they'll win. They'll think humans are weak." Elias smiled softly. "No, if I leave peacefully, they'll learn that strength isn't just about fighting. It's about knowing when to stand down for others." Tears welled in her eyes. "You really are like a father." Elias looked out at the stars. "And you'll always be the daughter of my heart, no matter how far I go." Unseen by either of them, Queen Sarathis watched from the shadows of the corridor. Her heart was torn. She knew the council's order was unjust, but she also knew that defying it could throw the galaxy into chaos. That night, she made her decision. The next morning, the Queen appeared before the Galactic Council via holocommunication. Her image stood tall and radiant in the center of the chamber, her crown gleaming with pale light. "Honored Council," she began, "you call my actions reckless. You fear the influence of one man. Yet that fear exposes your weakness, not mine. The Archon of the Archer Dominion leaned forward. You would defy the Council's decree? I will honor what is right, she said. This human has done what none of your armies or fleets have done. He united hearts across species. If humanity's kindness offends you, then perhaps your greatness was never real. Her words silenced the hall. Even her enemies could not deny the courage behind them. But courage often has a cost. Within hours, 3 neighboring empires withdrew their trade with SciFi-Prime. Border patrols reported movements of unknown fleets. It was clear the galaxy was dividing. Back on SciFi-Prime, Lias was preparing to depart when alarms echoed through the capital. The sky darkened as hundreds of enemy ships appeared above the atmosphere. The Valthuran Combine, one of the oldest military powers, had launched a peacekeeping operation. But everyone knew it was an invasion. Inside the palace, chaos broke out once again. Queen Sarathis ordered an evacuation of civilians, while the royal fleet scrambled to defend orbit. Elias rushed to the command center. "Let me help," he said. A general shook his head. "This is not your war, human. You've done enough." Elias looked him straight in the eyes. "It became my war the moment they came for the people I swore to protect." With the Queen's permission, he took command of a small defense squadron, mostly outdated ships and volunteers. He called them Unit Sol, after his home star, using tactics inspired by Earth's old naval history. Elias created confusion in the enemy fleet. He had his ships scatter, feint, and retreat in unpredictable patterns, drawing the invaders into traps where Zarelian cruisers waited to strike. The strategy worked. For the first time in centuries, a human-led squadron defeated one of the galaxy's elite armadas. The name Unit Sol spread across the stars like wildfire. But victory came at a price. Half of Elias's fleet was destroyed, and hundreds of brave Zarelians lost their lives. When he returned to the palace, exhausted and bloodstained, Queen Sarathis met him with a grave expression. "You've given us hope," she said, "but also enemies. The galaxy will not forgive this." Elias looked at her steadily. "Then let them come. They'll find humanity standing beside you." For the first time, the Queen bowed her head slightly in respect. "Then we stand together." The following weeks, the Zarelian-Human Alliance was announced. The Queen declared it before the stars. This bond began with a child's word. "Father," but in that word lies a truth the galaxy has forgotten. We are not enemies because we are different. We are family because we choose to be. Her speech echoed across worlds. On Earth, people cheered. On other planets, common citizens began questioning their leaders. The idea that compassion could unite species spread faster than any fleet, but not everyone celebrated. In the dark halls of distant empires, rulers whispered of rebellion. The Valthuran, the Archer, and others began forming an alliance of their own, a coalition to crush. This rising unity before it changed the balance of power forever, the galaxy trembled once more. Late one night, Elias stood again on the same balcony where his journey had begun. The sky was full of shooting stars, debris from the recent battle burning in the upper atmosphere. Lyra stood beside him, wearing a small command badge over her royal tunic. "Mother says the galaxy is afraid of what we're building." Elias nodded. "They are, because they don't understand it yet. But fear fades. What lasts is what we build on trust." Lyra looked at him with determination far beyond her years. "Then we'll keep building, Father, until the stars themselves understand." He smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Then let's begin." And as the night sky shimmered over SciFi-Prime, the bond between a human and an alien heir became more than a story. It became a revolution of the heart, one that would soon set the whole galaxy aflame with hope and defiance. The galaxy had grown restless. The Zarelian-Human Alliance, founded on trust, courage, and the bond between Elias and Lyra, had inspired hope across planets. But it had also drawn the eyes of those who feared change. The Valthuran Combine and the Archer Dominion had joined forces, declaring that the human influence on SciFi-Prime must be eradicated. Fleet after fleet gathered at the edge of Zyril space, preparing to strike with overwhelming force. Inside the palace, Queen Sarathis convened her council. "Our people are ready," she said, "but the humans bring a new kind of strength. Elias Vorn is not just a soldier. He is a strategist no one understands." Elias stood beside her, studying the holomap of incoming enemy forces. He had never commanded a fleet of this size before, and yet he felt the weight of responsibility as if it were a familiar mantle. "We won't fight like others expect," he said. "We'll fight differently. We'll show the galaxy what humans can do when they protect those they care about." Lyra approached him, determination shining in her silver eyes. "Then let me fight with you." "I will not hide while others risk everything." Elias shook his head. "Your place is with your people, Lyra. Protecting the Empire is your duty. But I will teach you to lead. The galaxy is watching, and one day it will follow you." She nodded. "Then teach me, Father." The battle began at dawn. Zero Prime's orbit was alive with the glow of ships. Enemy cruisers moved like dark predators surrounding the planet. But Elias had prepared traps, ambush points, unpredictable formations that no traditional fleet could anticipate. "Unit Sol, hold Formation Delta," he commanded. "Distract the central fleet while our Zarelian cruisers hit their flanks." "Timing is everything," the enemy laughed, expecting easy victory. But human tactics were different. Elias ordered small, agile ships to dart between the massive cruisers, striking weak points and retreating before the enemy could respond. It was chaotic, but chaos worked in humanity's favor. From the command deck of the Eterna, the Queen watched with her advisors. "He is using unpredictability," one officer said. "It is effective." The Queen only nodded. She had learned long ago that courage and wisdom often wore unexpected faces. Lyra watched from her training deck, her small fleet ready to assist. Elias had taught her how to predict enemy movements, how to read formations, and how to inspire her crew to act without hesitation. When her first strike succeeded saving a civilian convoy from destruction, her confidence soared. She realized that the lessons she learned from Elias were not just tactics. They were about trust, intuition, and heart. "Humans may be fragile," she said quietly to herself, "but they are never weak." The battle raged for hours. Explosions lit the void as Zarelian and human forces struck hard, then withdrew strategically, wearing down the invaders. Elias was everywhere, coordinating attacks, repairing ships, and boosting morale. He took risks no other commander would, diving into the thick of enemy fire to ensure a critical station remained operational at one point. An enemy capital ship fired a plasma cannon that threatened to destroy the planetary shield. Elias led a team of fighters directly into the line of fire, manually hacking the shield controls. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and his ship shuddered under the blast, but he succeeded. The shield held. The Queen, watching from orbit, held her breath. For the first time in centuries, a human's courage had saved not just her child, but her entire empire. Meanwhile, on the ground, Lyra demonstrated the lessons she had learned. When enemy forces attempted a landing on Zero Prime, she directed planetary defenses, coordinated rapid response units, and even personally guided a squad of young warriors. "Do not fight like you are angry," she instructed. "Fight like you are protecting your family." Her words had the same effect Elias had always hoped for: confidence, unity, and courage. Human, or Zarelian, the soldiers followed her without hesitation, turning the tide against the enemy ground forces. When the battle ended, hundreds of enemy ships had been destroyed or retreating, and thousands of lives had been saved. The galaxy, for the first time, saw humans and Zarelians fighting, not just together, but as one. After the battle, the Queen called Elias to the palace. His uniform was scorched, his face smeared with soot and sweat, yet his eyes burned with the same calm determination she had first noticed weeks ago. "You've risked everything," she said quietly. "Your people, your species, has changed how we fight, how we think, how we survive." Elias shook his head. "I did what any human would do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is all." Lyra approached, her small hand resting on his arm. "It is more than that, Father," she said. "You have taught me courage. You have shown me that even the smallest can make the biggest difference." The galaxy will never forget this. Elias smiled, exhausted but proud. Then the next lesson is this. Strength is not just about fighting. It is about hope. Never forget that. The queen stepped closer. You have earned the loyalty of my people and the admiration of my daughter. I do not know what the future holds, but I know one thing: you have changed ZyRPrime forever. News of the victory spread across the stars. The Valthurin and Archer empires, once confident of conquest, now hesitated. The galaxy was talking about one thing: the human who defended an empire. Elias did not celebrate. He knew the fight was only beginning. The political ramifications would be vast. Other empires would try to topple the alliance. Yet for the first time, humans were not underestimated. Their courage, strategy, humanity had earned them a place among the galaxy's great powers. Back on ZyRPrime, Liara held a small ceremony in honor of the fallen soldiers. She walked beside Elias, speaking to the young warriors who looked up to her. You are the future, she said. Whether human, Zyrelian, or from another world, you are the defenders of what is right. Remember that courage and loyalty can come from the most unexpected places. The soldiers cheered, their spirits renewed. The bond between the human and the heir of the Zyrelian Empire had inspired more than tactics or victories. It had inspired hearts. Elias watched Lyra with pride. She had grown from a curious child into a leader capable of guiding an entire civilization. He realized then that the word father was not just a title. It was a permissive bond that would endure through wars, politics, and even the vastness of space. That evening, the Queen and Elias met privately. She handed him a small holodisk. This contains reports from all sectors, she said. Your strategies, your decisions. Humanity has changed how we view war and how we view each other. The galaxy is trembling, not with fear, but with awe. Elias nodded. It is not just humans, Your Majesty. It is the choice to act with heart. Courage isn't a species, it's a decision. The Queen smiled faintly. Then may that decision guide the galaxy. May it guide my daughter as she inherits the throne. As night fell over ZyRPrime, the city glowed with a soft light, a testament to survival, hope, and unity. Across the galaxy, stories of the human ambassador who became the protector of an alien heir spread to distant worlds and far beyond. In the cold darkness of space, enemies plotted. They had not forgotten defeat. They had not forgiven the human father, but for now, the stars shone bright, and the people of ZyRPrime and the galaxy had a reason to hope. Humanity had proven its worth, not through dominance or conquest, but through courage, intelligence, and the unshakable bond of a man who chose to stand for what was right. The galaxy was trembling not from fear, but from the beginning of something new, and Elias, standing beside the princess he had sworn to protect, knew that the greatest battles were yet to come. The galaxy had changed. The events that began with a single sacred word, Father, had sparked ripples across countless worlds. The Zyrelian-human alliance, once considered improbable, stood as a symbol of unity, courage, and the power of trust between species. Yet peace was fragile. Even after the defeat of the Valthurin and Archer forces, whispers of rebellion continued. Many empires had not forgiven their earlier loss, and some saw the alliance as a threat to their own power. Queen Sarathis knew that. The real test of her daughter's leadership and of humanity's place in the galaxy was just beginning. On the surface of ZyRPrime, life had returned to a careful normalcy. Markets buzzed with trade, children ran freely across the floating gardens, and humans and Zyrelians worked side by side. Elias Vorn had been offered a position as the permanent human ambassador, but he refused. His duty went beyond titles. He stayed to protect Lyra and guide the young princess as she grew into the leader her people needed. Lyra herself had matured. The battles had changed her. She moved with quiet confidence, her silver eyes sharp with determination, and her voice carried authority wherever she spoke. Yet despite her growing power, she often sought Ilias's advice. "Father," said one morning, as they walked along the crystal river that ran through the capital, I can feel the galaxy still questioning me. They do not believe in the bond between our people. Elia smiled gently. Then you will show them, Lyra. Let your actions speak louder than their doubts. Leadership is not about convincing everyone. It is about standing for what is right. She nodded, her gaze steady. We will show them together. The first challenge came sooner than expected. A coalition of minor systems, inspired by the Valtheran and Archer losses, attempted a blockade of Zyril Prime's trade routes. Their goal was simple: starve the planet into submission and undermine the young heir's authority. Elias led a human Zerelian fleet to intercept the blockade. He had studied Earth naval tactics for years, adapting them for interstellar warfare. The enemy expected overwhelming force, but Elias had only a fraction of their ships. He spoke to the fleet commanders calmly, his voice carrying authority. They expect us to fight like everyone else. We won't. We will strike where they are weak. We will confuse them, outmaneuver them, and protect our people. Trust your instincts, and trust each other. Lyra stood at his side, directing her own squadron with precision. The young princess, once curious and timid, now inspired her own crew with courage and strategy. The battle was intense. Enemy ships moved in coordinated formations, but Elias had predicted every maneuver, using rapid strikes, feints, and unpredictable flight paths. The Alliance forces turned what could have been a massacre into a decisive victory. At the climax, Elias personally led a small squadron to disable the enemy's central command ship. They dodged heavy fire, navigated a minefield, and finally infiltrated the ship. Elias and his team shut down the engines, leaving the enemy fleet stranded and vulnerable. The victory was complete. The blockade collapsed, and news of the triumph spread across the galaxy. Humans were no longer seen as weak, impulsive creatures. They were strategists, protectors, and equals. Back on Zero Prime, the Queen convened the council. The galaxy sees what we have always known, she said. Humanity brings courage, wisdom, and heart, and my daughter. My daughter has grown into a leader worthy of her title. Lyra approached Elias privately afterward. I could not have done this without you, she said softly. You taught me to trust my instincts, to protect those who cannot protect themselves, and to act, even when the odds are impossible. Elias shook his head. No, Lyra. You did all of that yourself. I only reminded you of what was already inside you. That is the difference between teaching and doing. You are the heir. Your choices shape the galaxy. She smiled, a mixture of pride and warmth. Then we have done something no one expected. A human, standing beside the heir of Zyril. The galaxy will never forget this. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. And they will remember it not because of me, but because you never gave up. The final test came when the Galactic Council reconvened to acknowledge the new balance of power. Leaders from dozens of species gathered, many reluctantly, to witness the rise of a new era. Queen Serethis stepped forward first. The galaxy has seen war, rebellion, and fear, she said. But it has also seen courage, loyalty, and compassion. This alliance is not a compromise of tradition. It is proof that strength is measured not by the fear we impose, but by the protection we offer. When Lyra addressed the assembly, she spoke with the confidence of a true ruler. The galaxy may tremble at first when it sees what is new. It may doubt the bond between different peoples. But history will remember this moment not for our fears, but for our choices. Humanity and Zerlians have chosen to stand together. Let that unity guide the stars. As she spoke, Elias stood beside her. To the assembly, he was a human, small in appearance, but immense in reputation. To Lyra, he was more than that. He was her mentor, protector, and the father she had chosen. The council listened in silence. Even those who opposed the alliance had to respect what they had witnessed. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were leaders, defenders, and partners in the galaxy's future. In the days that followed, trade routes reopened, embassies were established, and peace began to settle across once hostile systems. Humans and Zerelians worked together in diplomacy, science, and exploration. The word father, once whispered in a palace chamber, became a symbol of unity and trust across planets. For Elias, the reward was not titles, medals, or fame. It was watching Lyra grow into a ruler capable of guiding her people with wisdom and heart. He saw her resolve in every decision, her courage in every act of leadership, and her kindness in every interaction with her subjects. One evening, as the twin moons rose over ZyROPrime, Lyra and Elias stood together on a balcony overlooking the city. The streets below glowed with soft light, filled with humans and Xerelians moving as one community. "You've given us a new way to see each other," Lyra said. "The galaxy will remember the bond we share." Elias smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "The bond you chose, Lyra. That word? Father, it belongs to you as much as it belongs to me. It is a promise. A promise that no matter what comes, we protect each other." Lyra nodded. "Then let us make that promise to the galaxy. It remind every world that courage and compassion are stronger than fear." Years passed. The galaxy thrived under the guidance of the Xerelian-Human Alliance. Humans became respected diplomats, explorers, and defenders. The stories of Elias Vorn spread from planet to planet, tales of the human who saved an alien, heir who led fleets against impossible odds, and who taught a young princess the meaning of courage. Lyra ascended to the throne, now fully Empress of the Xerelian Empire. At her coronation, Elias stood proudly beside her. When she addressed the galaxy, she spoke words that would echo through history. The word father once divided us. Today, it unites us. Strength is not in power alone, but in heart. Compassion, loyalty, and courage know no species. Humanity has shown us that greatness is born not of blood, but of choice. The crowd, alien and human alike, erupted in cheers. The galaxy had witnessed history. Humanity was no longer underestimated, and the legacy of a single human who stood for what was right would endure for generations. In the quiet of her chambers that night, Lyra looked at Elias. "You are more than a human," she said softly. "You are legend," Elias chuckled. "Legend is a word for stories. I'm just a man who did what he thought was right." Lyra smiled, her silver eyes reflecting the stars. "Then let the galaxy remember this. One man, one word, one bond can change everything." Elias gazed at the night sky, thinking of Earth, of the stars, and of the countless lives they had touched. "Then let them remember," he whispered. And so, the galaxy trembled not with fear, but with hope. Humanity had proven that courage, heart, and unwavering loyalty could unite worlds. The bond between a human and an alien heir became a symbol of strength and inspiration, a promise that even across the vastness of space, the choices of one could change the destiny of many. The stars burned bright above ZyROPrime, a testament to survival, unity, and the enduring power of heart. And as long as humans and Xerelians stood together, the galaxy would never be the same. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport of the UES horizon, their cold light reflecting off the ship's steel hull. Captain Elias Grant stood quietly on the command deck, his eyes fixed on the distant glow of a dying sun. The ship was on a simple mission, delivering supplies and medical aid to colonies on the edge of human space. To the crew, it was routine. But to Elias, every journey through the unknown carried a weight of responsibility. Out here, far from the safety of Earth, help could take months to arrive. Humanity was small compared to the ancient empires that ruled the galaxy. Yet he believed that every act of kindness, no matter how small, made their place among the stars stronger. "Captain," receiving a distress signal, said Lieutenant Mara, his communications officer. Her voice carried a hint of concern. "Signal origin. Not human. The frequency is unfamiliar." Elias turned from the viewport. "Location. Sector D7. 2 light minutes away. The signal is weak. Seems automated. Maybe an escape pod." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The edges of known space were dangerous. Dozens of alien factions claimed territories nearby, and humans were not always welcome. Elias didn't hesitate. "Set a course. Bring us in slow. Prepare a rescue team." The engines hummed as the ship turned toward the signal. The bridge lights dimmed, and the stars shifted in the blackness. Within minutes, the sensors picked up the source, a small metallic object tumbling silently in space. It's an escape craft, Mara confirmed. Badly damaged. No power readings, but life signs detected. One occupant. The captain's voice was steady. Lock tractor beam. Bring it aboard. The rescue bay hissed with steam as the pod settled onto the platform. Engineers rushed in, cutting through the twisted metal. Elias stood near the door wearing a sealed environment suit. When the hatch finally gave way, they found a small figure curled up inside. The child was humanoid, but her features were unlike any species they had seen before. Her skin had a faint golden tone that shimmered softly, her hair pale silver, and delicate markings glowed faintly beneath her skin, symbols of some unknown origin. She was unconscious, her breathing weak and shallow, vitals dropping. Called Dr. Chen, the ship's medic. We need her in the med bay now. Elias stepped forward without hesitation, lifting the child carefully into his arms. She was light, almost weightless, and trembling faintly. Through the thin layer of her torn clothing, you could feel the faint rhythm of her heart. Fragile, but alive. Do everything you can, he told the doctor. We're not losing her. As the team rushed to the medical bay, whispers followed behind. The crew knew what it meant to bring a non-human aboard without permission from higher command, especially one of unknown origin. But none of them dared question the captain's order. Hours passed before the doctor gave his report. Elias sat outside the med bay, his uniform dusty and his eyes tired. She lived, Dr. Chen said finally. Her body temperature is different from ours, and her blood contains metallic traces. But she's recovering fast. She should wake up soon. Elias nodded, relief softening the hard lines on his face. Good work, Doctor. As Chen left, Elias entered the med bay quietly. The girl lay on the bed, her breathing steady now. Strange devices monitored her vitals, glowing softly in the dim light. She looked peaceful but also lonely, as if she had already seen too much pain for her age. He pulled up a chair and sat beside her. You're safe now, he said softly, not knowing if she could understand him. We found you out there alone. You're aboard a human ship. We mean no harm. For a long time, there was silence. Then a small hand moved. Her eyes opened bright violet, glowing faintly like starlight. She stared at him, frightened at first, then curious. Elias smiled gently. It's all right. You're safe. Her lips moved slowly. Who, man? Yes, Elias said. My name is Elias. What's yours? She hesitated, her voice small. Saranya, he repeated softly. That's a beautiful name. Her gaze lingered on him, uncertain, but there was trust beginning to form. Then her eyes closed again, and she fell into deep sleep. In the following days, Saranya's condition improved. She began walking around the med bay, observing everything with quiet curiosity. The crew avoided approaching her too closely. Her alien appearance made many uneasy. But Elias visited often, bringing her food and speaking in simple words. She learned quickly. Within a few days, she could understand most of what was said to her. She was intelligent, calm, and polite, yet always guarded. One day, when Elias entered the room, she turned toward him and bowed slightly, a strange but graceful gesture. You saved me, she said quietly. I thank you. Elias shook his head. You don't need to thank me. Anyone would have done the same. She tilted her head, studying him. No, not all would. Her voice carried a sadness he couldn't ignore. What happened to your ship, Saranya? He asked gently. Her expression changed. She looked down, hands gripping the edge of her blanket. My ship was attacked. I escaped. Others didn't? Who attacked you? She didn't answer. Instead, she whispered, they will come. They always come. Before Elias could ask more, alarms blared across the ship. Mara's voice echoed over the intercom. Captain, we've got incoming unidentified vessels on intercept course. Elias rushed to the bridge. Report. 3 ships, unknown design, said Mara. They're broadcasting no signal, but their weapons are active. Shields up. The horizon vibrated as the defensive barriers activated. The alien ships closed in fast, their dark hulls glowing with crimson light. Message coming through, said Mara. Translators are working. Okay, we've got it. A deep, distorted voice filled the bridge. Return the girl. She belongs to the Valar Empire. You are trespassing, Elias frowned. Valerie Empire? The name was unfamiliar, yet the tone and the voice carried immense authority. He glanced toward the medbay feed on the side screen. Saranya was awake, staring at the ceiling, her face pale. She whispered the same word Valari, as if the name itself carried fear. Captain, said Dr. Chen, over the comes, whatever they want, don't let them have her. She's terrified. Elias clenched his fists. They're demanding a child we found injured and abandoned. That's not how we do things. Sir Mara said quietly, if they're who they claim to be, their ships could wipe us out in seconds. I know, Elias replied. His voice was calm, steady, the kind of calm that gave others courage. But I won't hand over a scared child to people who speak like that. He turned to his weapons officer. Target their lead ship's engines. Non-lethal shot. Just a warning. Pulse cannon fired, streaking blue across the void. It struck one of the alien ships, rocking it violently. The other ships stopped moving. For a long moment, silence filled the coms. Then the hostile vessels turned away, vanishing into warp space. The crew released a collective breath. Elias stared at the empty view screen. He knew it wasn't over. Whoever the Valari were, they would be back, and next time. They would not retreat so easily. That night, Elias visited Serenia again. She sat by the window, looking out at the stars. They came for you, didn't they? He asked quietly. She nodded slowly. Yes, they always come. Who are they? My people, she said softly. The Valerie Empire. They rule many worlds, I am. She stopped, looking uncertain, then whispered, I am their princess. Elias froze. A princess. The words echoed in his mind. Before he could respond, she looked up at him with tears glimmering in her violet eyes. They will destroy you for saving me, he smiled gently, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Then they'll have to go through me first. For the first time since he found her, Serenia smiled, a small, trembling smile, full of gratitude and trust, and somewhere, beyond the quiet hum of the ship, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, for one human's choice had just shaken the balance of the galaxy. Dark days had passed since the alien ships had retreated, but the tension aboard the vessel hadn't faded. Everyone knew that their mysterious guest was the reason those ships appeared, and everyone feared they might return. Captain Elias Grant walked through the corridors with a calm face, though his thoughts were heavy. He had already sent coded messages to Earth explaining the situation in cautious words, but he knew it might take weeks before any reply came. Out here, they were alone, inside the medical bay. Serenia sat by the observation window, her small hands folded on her knees. Her silver hair shimmered under the soft lights. Since the attack, she had spoken very little. The other crew members were kind but distant. They didn't know how to behave around her. When Elias entered, she turned toward him instantly. For a moment, her face brightened, a soft smile that reminded him she was still just a child. Despite her strange and royal origins, "You're awake early," Elias said gently, pulling a chair beside her bed. "I could not sleep," she whispered. "When I close my eyes, I see fire. I hear them shouting." Elias nodded slowly. "You were in a crash." Anyone would have nightmares after that. Serenia looked down. It was not only the crash, it was betrayal. He frowned slightly. Betrayal. She hesitated, then began speaking in a soft, trembling voice. "The Valerie Empire, my people. They sent me on a diplomatic journey. But our ship was attacked, not by enemies, but by our own fleet." Elias was silent for a long moment. "Your own people attacked you?" She nodded. "Because I spoke against them. I told the High Council that we should stop the wars, that the smaller races should not live in fear of our empire. They called me weak. They said I would shame the bloodline, and then they tried to erase me." The room fell quiet. Elias leaned back, feeling both anger and disbelief. The idea that someone would try to harm a child, especially their own heir, filled him with silent fury. Then they failed. he said at last. You're still alive. Her eyes glimmered faintly with tears. Because you saved me. Elias gave a faint smile. You don't need to thank me, Serenia. Saving people, that's what we humans do. She tilted her head slightly. Humans, you are strange. You have small fleets, small worlds, yet you face those greater than you without fear. He chuckled softly. Maybe that's what makes us human. Later that day, Elias gathered his senior officers in the command room. A holographic image of Serenia's pod and the attacking ships floated above the table. We need to understand who we're dealing with, Elias said. I've looked through old star maps, and the Valari Empire covers almost a third of this quadrant. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Lieutenant Mara crossed her arms. Then why didn't they just destroy us? They could have, because they wanted the girl alive, Dr. Chen replied. They're not after us. They're after her. Elias nodded. That's what worries me. If what she said is true, she's more than just a refugee. She's a political spark that could set off a war. The room fell silent. Every officer understood what that meant. Protecting her might not just endanger their ship, it could endanger all of humanity. Commander Reyes finally spoke. Sir, orders from Earth will take too long. What do we do until then? Elias looked at the image of the glowing escape pod. We do what's right, he said firmly. She's under our care. Until we know more, she stays safe. That evening, Serenia was brought to the bridge. She wore a simple blue robe from the ship's supplies, her glowing markings now faint but visible. She walked carefully, her eyes wide as she looked at the human crew working around her. Elias motioned toward a chair near his station. Come sit. You should see what we see every day. She sat quietly, watching the holographic screens. So many stars, she whispered. You humans travel among them, even with such fragile ships. We make do with what we have, Elias said with a smile. Exploring helps us learn. Every world we visit teaches us something new. Where I come from, Serenia said softly, the stars are not for learning. They are for owning. My people take worlds, not to understand them, but to control them. Sounds lonely, Elias murmured. She nodded. It is. As she spoke, the navigation officer's screen beeped. Captain, incoming message, encrypted long range. It's from the Valari command. The crew went silent. Elias exchanged a quick look with Mara. Put it on screen. The main display flickered to life, showing a tall, regal figure surrounded by silver light, a Valari High Lord. His face was sharp and emotionless, his golden eyes glowing faintly. This is Lord Varen of the Valari Empire, the voice said, calm yet cold. You have something that belongs to us. Return her immediately. Elias stood tall. You mean Serenia? The alien's gaze hardened. You will refer to her as the Princess of Valari. Her return is non-negotiable. Failure to comply will be seen as an act of aggression against the Empire. Elias kept his tone even. Your ships attacked a vessel that carried her. We found her injured and alone. We didn't abduct her. We saved her. That is irrelevant. She is property of the Valari throne. The word property made Elias's jaw tighten. She's not property. She's a child. The alien leaned closer to the screen, his eyes burning like fire. You do not understand, human. The Valari rule entire galaxies. One word from our Empress, and your species will vanish. Elias took a slow breath. Then I suggest your Empress chooses her words carefully. Because this child, this princess, is under the protection of humanity now. For a moment, the alien said nothing. Then the screen went dark. The bridge remained silent. The crew stared at their captain with a mix of admiration and fear. Sir Mara said softly, that might start a war. Elias turned to face them all. Maybe, but I won't stand by while anyone threatens a child. That's not who we are. Down in the med bay, Serenia had heard everything through the ship's comms. Her eyes were wide with disbelief. No one had ever spoken to a Valari lord like that. Not even other nobles. She whispered to herself, he defied them. For me, that night, she couldn't sleep again. She wandered quietly through the halls until she found the captain's quarters. The door was open slightly. Inside, Elias sat at his desk, reading data logs. She stepped inside slowly. Captain. He looked up, surprised. You should be resting. They will come again. The Valerie never forgive defiance. Why would you risk your people for me? He studied her for a moment before answering. Because you needed help. That's reason enough. Her eyes filled with emotion she couldn't hide. Among my kind, no one would do that. Kindness is seen as weakness. Then maybe your kind needs to learn what real strength looks like, Elias said gently. There was a long silence. Then Serenia stepped closer and whispered something unexpected, something that froze him completely. Can I call you father? Elias blinked. Father. She nodded. On my world, that word means protector, the one who shields others even when it is dangerous. You are that to me. Elias didn't speak for a few seconds. The word touched something deep in his heart, something he hadn't felt in years since losing his own family in an accident long ago. He smiled softly. If that's what you want to call me, I'll take it as an honor. Serenia smiled faintly, tears glimmering in her eyes. Thank you, Father. And at that exact moment, across the galaxy, the word father echoed where no human voice had ever reached. Intercepted transmissions caught the moment. The Valar High Council heard it. Entire empires watched the recording spread through their networks. The galaxy that once ignored humanity now turned its eyes toward Earth because an alien princess had just called a human father.